Gloria Grace, age 19 years, died in a car crash some minutes ago.
What time is it? I had a 9 o'clock class. Where is my phone? I was in a bus, and then there was a crash. Or am I dead? Where is my mum? Mum?
She cannot hear you. This place does not work that way.
Who are you?
The voice that spoke during your mother's phone calls when you let them ring out. The feeling you named guilt and learned to schedule away. The thing that made you drive past her street 3 times in 2019 without stopping. And you are here because your time on earth has ended. And there is an account to be given, not only of what you did, but of what you received, and what you did with it.
I built a career from nothing. I supported myself entirely. I sent money home sometimes, and I was not a bad person. I was busy. People get busy.
You were given more than money, Gloria. And the account here is not about how much you sent home. Gloria Grace, the hearing begins now.
The case before this court is not unusual in category. It is, however, unusually well documented. I will present 3 counts, and I will allow the evidence to carry the weight. Count 1, ingratitude as a practice, not an incident. Peace Grace, the defendant's mother raised 4 children alone after her husband died when Gloria was 11 years old. She sold ground nuts at the roadside for 3 years to keep Gloria in secondary school. She fasted twice weekly, not for spiritual discipline, though she called it that, but because the food in the house was insufficient for 5 people and she was the adult. She went without so her children would not. Gloria was a beneficiary of every sacrifice. She was the one singled out for the scholarship. She was the one sent to university. She was the one whose school fees her mother borrowed money to pay in the 2nd year when the scholarship lapsed. She was given everything. Count 2, the abandonment of presents. From the year Gloria secured her first corporate position, her mother called every Sunday. For 11 years, she called every Sunday without fail. The calls were answered, on average, 4 times out of every 10. Of the 6 that were missed, the average call-back rate was once every 3 weeks. In the last 4 years of Grace Okafor's life, Gloria visited her in person twice, once for a cousin's wedding, once when her mother was hospitalised, and the hospital called Gloria directly because no one else could reach her. 2 visits in 4 years to the woman who sold ground nuts on the roadside so you could sit in a classroom. Count 3, the dismissal of gratitude itself. In 2017, Peace came to visit Gloria in the city. She stayed for 6 days. On the 3rd day, she prayed over Gloria's apartment, anointed the doorposts with oil, sang over her daughter in the kitchen while cooking. Gloria told her colleague the next morning, and I am reading directly from a message she sent, "My mother is visiting and it is absolutely exhausting. She treats my apartment like a church and me like I'm still 12 years old. I cannot wait for Sunday." Her mother died 14 months later. The apartment has never been prayed over since. Gloria did not tell anyone that she still keeps the small Bible her mother left behind tucked in the back of her bee. Edgeside drawer, unread but present. She cannot explain why she kept it. This is not a case about cruelty. Gloria Grace never hit her mother, never stole from her, was never publicly disrespectful. The charge is quieter than that, and in some ways more damning. She received a lifetime of sacrificial love, treated it as background noise, and only began to miss it when it was no longer available. She grieved the loss. She never honoured the gift. Peace Glory spent her final years wondering if her daughter truly loved her. She never stopped praying for grace, but she died with that question unanswered. I submit that a debt was owed, and it was not paid, and debts brought unpaid to this court are mine to collect.
I spent my whole career learning to speak in rooms that were trying to diminish me. I always had a rebuttal, a counterpoint, a data set that changed the frame. I have nothing for this room. Everything he said was true. I could argue the framing of some of it, but the substance is true. I want to explain something. Not to excuse it. I understand now that explanation and excuse are different things, but because I think the truth deserves to be complete. I left home at 14 with a single suitcase and a terror so large I could not name it. The terror was this, that everything my mother survived, I would also have to survive, that poverty was inheritable, that sacrifice was the only language our family spoke, and I did not want to be fluent in it. I wanted a different story. So I built one. I built it very deliberately and very far from where I started, and in doing that I built it far from her. Every time she called, she was home. She was the roadside. She was the second-hand uniform and the skipped meals and everything I had run from. I did not hate her, I loved her in the way you love the place you came from fiercely and from a distance. But I did not go back because going back meant standing still, and I had spent my whole adult life in motion because the moment I stopped moving, I was afraid the old life would catch me. I made her the symbol of everything I was afraid of, and then I treated her accordingly, and she never stopped being my mother. Through all of it, she never once stopped. To my dear Mom, I kept the Bible. I know you would find that funny, or maybe you would find it exactly right, because you always said God would find a way in whether I opened the door or not. I kept it because on the night you died, I sat on my kitchen floor and I opened it for the first time in years, and every page that mattered was underlined in pencil. In your handwriting, and I realized you had been carrying that Bible for decades, not as a prop but as a map. You had marked every road you had ever walked in it. And I understood, sitting on that floor, that you had been trying to give me the map my entire life, and I kept handing it back without reading it. I am so sorry, and I am sorry I made you wonder. You should never have had to wonder. I really know the word that describes what I did. The Bible uses it plainly. I was ungrateful, I took the gift and ignored the giver. And not only the earthly giver you, but every meal she produced from nothing was your provision. Every prayer she prayed over me was your faithfulness meeting her faithfulness halfway. I received all of it and called it circumstance, called it hard work, called it anything except what it was. I cannot undo a single Sunday call I let ring out. I cannot give her back the 6 days she spent in my apartment, praying over a daughter who found her exhausting.
To the accuser, your case was thorough. The counts are confirmed. Peace Glory did die with a question unanswered by her daughter's lips. The calls were missed. The visits were few. The dismissal of her presence in 2017 is in the record. I do not dispute the facts you presented. What you omitted, as is your habit, is everything that does not serve your argument. You did not mention that on the night of Peace's hospitalization, Grace drove for hours through the night to get there. You did not mention that she held her mother's hand for 9 hours straight through the worst of it, and did not leave until she was stable. You did not mention that every single one of the remittances sent home, however irregular, were sent without being asked. You did not mention the quiet gifts, the new roof in 2015, the school fees for her younger cousin, the medication she arranged and paid for anonymously when her mother's church members were taking up elections. She was imperfect in presence. She was consistent in provision. You presented the absence and erased the substance. That is your specialty, the incomplete ledger. Grace Glory, I want you to know something about your mother that she never told you, because she was not the kind of woman who kept an account of her own suffering. In the last year of her life, Peace Glory was asked by her pastor to give a testimony. She stood before her congregation, small church, plastic chairs, the fan in the corner that was always broken, and she said this: "My daughter lives in the city. She's very busy. But God told me she is coming home. Maybe not to my house, but home. He told me, and I believed him." She was not speaking about geography. She was speaking about you this moment, this court, this kneeling. Your mother spent the last year of her life in faith that you would find your way back to me. She prayed that specific prayer every morning of her final year. She did not know what form the answer would take, but she prayed it without wavering. She received her answer: you are it. The guilt you carry is real. The missed Sundays were real. The 6 days in 2017 that you wished away, she felt that, and it is real. I do not erase real things. but I redeemed them. That is the difference between my justice and the accuser's. He wants the debt acknowledged and collected. I want the debt acknowledged and then covered. The only way to deal fully with what human beings do to the people who love them, the neglect, the ingratitude, the love received and taken for granted, was not to minimize it but to absorb it completely. The cross was erected wide enough for the daughter, who let her mother's calls ring out 1,100 times. The arms stretched out on it were long enough to reach into the back of a bedside drawer and hold a small, underlined Bible. That Bible is not an accident, grace. It is a door, and you are already through it. The question she died with has its answer. All debts paid, all distances closed. Welcome home, daughter. There is someone in this room who has a number saved in their phone that they have not called in a very long time, a parent, a grandparent. The person who sacrificed for you in ways they never announced, never invoiced, never stopped doing. Grace had 1,100 Sundays. She let most of them ring out. You may have fewer Sundays left than you think, not because God is threatening you, but because time is honest in a way we prefer not to be. This drama is not a condemnation. It is an invitation. The door Grace walked through at the end, the door back to her mother, back to God, back to the love she had been running from. That door is open right now for you today. Call the number. Make the visit. Say the thing that has been sitting in your chest for years waiting for the right moment. The right moment is now. It has always been now. And if the person you need to call is already gone, then kneel the way Grace knelt, because the God who kept that Bible in the drawer can keep that conversation too. Nothing is lost to him. Not one Sunday, not one prayer, not one underlined page. Share this with someone who needs to hear it before it's too late. Subscribe for new faith-based drama scripts every week. Comment which moment in this script hit you hardest.